Welcome to another episode of What's Going On. Today we have Miss Jasmine Young. She is the founder of Southern Heritage Financial Group located in Atlanta, Georgia, which creates financial structures for families representing small business owners, sole proprietors, and seven-figure earning companies to build the road to generational wealth. Your company's mission is spread financial literacy around the globe, one family at a time, and I absolutely love that mission. So,
Thank
welcome to the show.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. So let's just get into it. I want you to tell us a little bit about your background and how you became interested in creating, financial structures for families and just the road to generational wealth. How did that all come about?
Absolutely. So, like you said, I am a CPA. I'm the founder of Southern Heritage Financial Group, which is a CPA firm located here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I basically, the reason I became a CPA is back when I was in high school, a comment was made to me by one of my basketball teammates. And the comment was made that everybody wasn't fed with a silver spoon like me. And it upset me because I didn't feel like I was fed with a silver spoon. For the purpose of transparency, both of my parents, they grew up poor. My dad was one of the baby boy of 17, and my mom was one of 8. They didn't have a lot growing up, but I watched them, make a life for my brother and I that we didn't have to live the life they lived. They worked very, very hard to give us the life that they didn't have. What they didn't know about finances, they actually surrounded themselves with people who had the knowledge that they wanted to have. And they also held each other accountable for the finances in the home. And they held my brother and I accountable as well. We had a $20 budget every week, and we had to make that $20 stretch for gas in the car, snacks after band and basketball practice. And it was that bare minimum example that they gave to us, that I realized my peers weren't getting. And to them, it looked like I was privileged, like I was getting something that other people couldn't get. So it was in high school, actually, that I decided that I didn't want to be a professional singer, that I was actually going to change career paths and be a resource for my community, my peers and their families. And that's how Southern Heritage was born. So my purpose and my mission is basically to just create generational wealthy families, especially African American families, because finances isn't taught to us, wealth isn't taught to us. And I wanted people to have someone, a regular person that they can relate to, that could tell them that, it is possible no matter what type of background you came from. So that's where Southern Heritage was born and why I became a CPA.
Okay, I love that. And I love that your parents, took their experiences and made sure that their children didn't have to, go
Absolutely.
through the same thing. Um,
Absolutely.
so, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge that small business owners face when trying to build generational wealth, and how do you see, that barrier? How do we overcome that barrier?
To be honest, I think our biggest barrier is fear. Fear
Mm-hmm.
that it's not possible. Fear that you're gonna be judged for seeking help, and fear that
Mm-hmm.
there is no help available. I
Mm-hmm.
think representation is very important in the financial industry when it comes to African Americans, because I'll be honest, I did not know a CPA when I grew up. My first time meeting a CPA was actually after I had graduated college. So I feel like it's very important for us to be represented in the industry and let people know that, hey, there are people out here that can help you, that won't judge you, and that will walk with you along the way. A lot of people, when they hear CPA, they think taxes, and we're so much more than that. We're financial advisors. Our goal is to teach people, how to become financially literate, and how to become generationally wealthy. And a lot of people think, oh, well, since I don't have money, that I'll never be able to create wealth, and that's not true. So I think our biggest challenge is fear, and the lack of representation in the community, which is why I became a CPA in the first place.
Yeah, I love that. Representation definitely matters.
It does.
And we see it all the time. And like you said, I don't think I remember growing up knowing that, this person was a CPA. It wasn't until I became an adult that I started seeing more CPAs that were actually
Absolutely.
black. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
And we're even a minority in the industry as well. There's over 650,000 CPAs in the world. Less than 2% are black. So
Mm,
we're still a minority, and we're still trying to, you know, create um the representation that's needed so that we can bring more people, you know, out of financial illiteracy and actually create generational wealth, because it really is possible. It's not as far-fetched as people think it is.
yeah, that's. I didn't realize it was that bad that it was only 2%. But I love what you're doing. And then with it's still we're still in tax season here. Can you just share some of the top mistakes that small business owners make when they're filing their taxes, and maybe ways that they can overcome it?
I would say the biggest mistake is letting just anybody prepare their taxes. Tax preparation, I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but like, you never really hear people, you know, saying they're a tax professional until tax time comes. And
True.
most of the times we try to rely on people that we know to do our taxes. And the actual the reality of that is, a lot of people can do data entry, but a lot
Mhm.
of people cannot teach you why your tax return result is what it is. They can't tell you why you owe. They can't tell you why you got a refund. They can't
Mhm.
tell you what to do to change your position. And actually, taxes is something that you should be working on all year. You should be doing year-round tax planning. And most people who do data entry taxes aren't doing tax planning because they don't know how to do it. So I think the biggest issue we face is letting people do our taxes who aren't actually professionals and trained in the industry to teach you, and not just to enter your information into software.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the biggest issues. Another issue is record keeping. People don't keep records, and they start, you know, frantically trying to find records when it's time to do tax time, and it becomes frustrating for them.
Mhm.
And I found that that's the biggest reason why people wait until the tax deadline to get their taxes done, because they're in fear of what to expect. Am I gonna owe? I have a business. How does this business reflect on my tax return? How should I
Mhm.
be doing taxes? A lot of business owners, contrary to popular belief, aren't up to date on their taxes, and
Mhm.
that's a big issue as well. So when they come to a professional who's trying to help them and explain to them, you know, the importance of taxes, the importance of record keeping, it's overwhelming because a lot of this information is information people aren't taught. People are being taught, especially during COVID, you know, get an LLC, write everything off on your taxes. But if you're doing that and
Yes.
you're trying to buy a home, then you're in a situation where your tax return is showing no income because you got a refund and nobody told you this. So the biggest thing is, of
Yeah.
course, relying on people who aren't professionals, not keeping up with record keeping, and again, the fear of the unknown.
Yeah. That's so true. My next question was going to be, what can people do to prepare as a business owner? And I guess one of them would be record keeping, making sure you're keeping track of your spending. Is there anything else? Any other tips you can give them?
Absolutely. And you need to be meeting with a professional during the year. Don't wait until January to February to talk to someone about your taxes. Contrary to popular belief, you can actually make your tax return be exactly what you want it to be legally if you do tax planning throughout the year. So yes, that's your record keeping. That's sitting down, having meetings with your professionals throughout the year to assess your tax position, see if it's what you want it to be, and if not, provide you the strategies to fix that. So when tax season comes and you're ready to file your tax return, the fear of the unknown is gone because you know what to expect because you've worked on it all year. So I always tell people the basic building blocks of tax preparation, whether you're an individual or a business, is record keeping, bookkeeping, making sure you have your receipts, making sure everything is organized, and CPAs can absolutely help you do that.
Okay. And just to talk about something a little different, can you just share what equal pay day is, what that
Yes,
is, and why it's important for women?
yes. So Equal Pay Day it's a national day. A lot of people actually don't know about it, but it is a national day where we actually recognize how much less women are paid compared to their male counterparts. In this year, the Equal Pay Day was in March, but what people don't know is in March, that equal pay day was for our white women. And what that means is, in order for the our white counterparts to be paid equally to males, they would have had to work until March of this year just to get the same pay that a male made from January to December of last year. And I'll go even further. For African American women, our equal pay day is in June. So there's still inequality in equal pay when it comes to the races of women. So it's very important for us to acknowledge these things so that we can close not just the generational wealth gap, but also the pay gap between genders and between races.
And how do you suppose we work toward getting that pay gap closed? How do we?
I would say number one, the companies that are
Mhm.
paying people, they should be doing internal audits to make sure that equal pay is being given no matter your gender or your race. That's number one. And then two, for women, I think it's important for us, when we realize that these things are happening, to speak up and speak out about it so that people know that it's an issue and so they can address it. And I will also say that women, we need to be more confident in our capabilities, in our education, and stand up for what we deserve. Absolutely. If I have the same qualifications as a male counterpart, there's no reason why he's getting paid more than me. If we have the exact same qualifications and we do the exact same job, there is no reason that there is inequality when it comes to pay.
Yep, definitely advocate for yourself. I
Absolutely.
see it all the time. Working in HR, is definitely a huge gap, and people don't speak up for themselves. People usually just take whatever salary is offered.
Right. And
Uh,
fear of not having a salary at all. But
right.
I'm a firm believer in if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So when you
Hmm.
see these things, call them out, be an advocate. Companies should definitely be doing their own internal audits to ensure that no one is experiencing inequality in pay or in any way in their company. So companies need to hold themselves accountable, and then employees need to hold their company accountable as well.
Right. So true. And I think that affects everything. Like if you're not making, especially now with the way the economy is, because my next question is about home ownership and the initiative you started with that, the Hope initiative to help families of color become homeowners. If you're not making a salary, you
Right.
can't afford to, purchase a home. Um,
Absolutely.
so can you tell us about that program and
Yes.
how it works?
Absolutely. So the HOPE initiative stands for the Home Ownership Placement and Empowerment Program. And we basically take people through a program for a full year, or if it takes longer, it just depends on what your specific financial situation is. We look at, we look at your credit score, we look at your taxes, we look at your budget, and we put together a plan for you to actually become a homeowner. A lot of people, number one, think that they can't become a home owner. They automatically think, oh, I don't make enough money. But there is a home for everyone. The process is different for everyone, but the requirements are pretty much the same across the board. So you want to make sure that when you are getting ready to purchase a home, that your debt to income ratio is below the standard. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's below 36%. If you're not an accountant, if you've never owned a home before, you don't even know where to start to make sure that your debt to income ratio is appropriate to be able to be approved for a mortgage loan. So that's where we come in, and we actually work with realtors and mortgage loan officers as a team to help put families in those homes, to make sure that on paper everything looks like it should look in order for them to go through the underwriting process and actually be able to close on the home. So the Hope Initiative is really there to give people hope that you can become a homeowner.
I love that. You're doing a lot of good things for the community. I love
Thank
it. I love
you.
it.
Thank you.
So as far as like the corporations and the schools in the community, how can they get in on, because this month is National Financial
Financial literacy.
Literacy over,
Yep.
right? How can they get in and help? And what kind of impact do you think that will help on the community if it was taught in the schools? I know you mentioned earlier about our community not learning financial literacy.
Absolutely. So I really think that corporations should be supportive of organizations that are trying to help, people be more financially literate. One of my inspirations is Black Wall Street that existed back in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in 1921 before it was bombed and demolished by a mob, a white mob, for the lack of better words. But back then, we actually were an interdependent community. You know, we had our own school, we had our own banks, theaters, we had homeowners, landowners, business owners, grocery stores. We were able to thrive just because of the camaraderie that was created between businesses and the people that they served. And I think that's something that we need to get back to in order for us to make more generationally wealthy and financially literate communities and families, not just African Americans, but everybody. I believe that it's important um, for corporations to not necessarily not be so focused on making a dollar or their bottom line, but you want to be able to affect social change and, you know, be a good citizen in the communities that you serve. So I think it's important for them to give back in ways that help the community. One of the institutions that I love is our CDFIs, which is basically blank banks for underserved and underrepresented communities. And I wish that corporations and these other financial institutions would model themselves after CDFIs to make sure that we are servicing everybody, that we are giving everybody the opportunity to live the American dream that is, you know, widely broadcast for centuries. I think that's very important for them to collaborate with organizations and other businesses that are actually doing public service work.
Yeah, I love that. I was going to ask you about your annual. This is your third annual Black Business Expo, and you're
Yes.
doing it next year, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
initially we planned for it to be in June of this year, but
Mhm.
what people don't know about the event is for the past 2 years, I have personally self-funded the event because I believe so much in making more African American generationally wealthy and financially literate communities. And what we decided to do is we decided to pivot the event till next year so that we can build more partnerships with organizations and corporations to show them, you know, what we do for the community, why it's important, and basically just to get more allies to support the event so that the resources will continue to be there for us to provide, you know, the educational programs, events, and resources that families need to become more financially literate and generationally wealthy.
I love that. And Francesca said that she just learned of CDFIs this year. So, people don't even know,
Right,
they don't have the information, and you don't know what you don't know. You wouldn't even think that there would be,
right,
institutions out there or programs out there to help.
right.
um when I was reading through your bio, you mentioned a connection between financial health and mental health. Can you
Absolutely.
just elaborate on what that connection is, and the
Absolutely.
important aspects of both?
Absolutely. So what a lot of people what I've learned in the industry is that people always think that, you know, if I have more money, then I would do better. And that's not
Hmm.
necessarily the case. I tell people all the time, generational wealth and financial literacy is 50% education and 50% application. A lot of people don't realize that their spending habits are connected to their psychological behaviors. Why do you spend the money that you spend? What are you spending money on? Are you doing it to overcompensate for things? And a lot of times in the African American community, you know, we're really big on looking the part, even if we aren't actually what we portray to be.
Hmm.
And that's a form of financial trauma, a part of um, the lack of generational wealth, even back to slavery, how we were
Hmm.
trained to see money, how we worked hard for less, and people just wanted to have a good life. They wanted to be afforded the same things as our counterparts. And I think that that financial trauma has basically grown across generations because of our lack of equality back in those slavery times. So I think it's very important for us when you're talking about financial health, that you address the mental issues and the psychological behaviors of how people spend money and why they spend money. A lot of people spend money that they actually don't have to spend because they're psychologically overcompensating for lack in other areas. So you can't address financial health without addressing mental health, because a lot of it is psychological.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about it like that, but that's so true.
Yes.
Thelma said, "How does she get in touch with your program?" She's in Tennessee, so how do people contact you?
Absolutely. So you can go to shfgglobal.com/services, and you can see all of the services that we provide there. You can also apply to work with us, depending on what service you're interested in. You can click on those links that are included at that web page and do the application to see if you're a good fit for our program and for our services. And you'll be given access to our calendar to book a meeting to speak with us, to see how we can help you overcome any financial trauma that you've experienced that's prohibiting you from becoming generationally wealthy and financially literate.
Well, thank you. It was great talking to you today.
Absolutely, you too.
I love what you're doing in the
Thank
community. I'm very big on community. I really think that that is the key to unlocking generational wealth, us working
Absolutely.
together, whether it's bartering, whether it's through financial literacy.
Right.
Um, I just feel like, this is the key. And I'm glad that you're doing, especially to see a face that looks like mine.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Representation always matters.
yes, it does. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on that I didn't ask you about? I wanted to make sure we touched on
you
everything.
you mentioned bartering, and it just sparked my mind. A lot of people think that they're above bartering, and what people don't realize is, if you look at our history, we used to do it all the time. Your income could be income from my business when you shop with me, or if I have a service that you need that you can't financially afford, what can you offer me in exchange for what you need? And I think that's very important, and how we were actually able to build Black Wall Street, 103 years, 102, 3 years ago. So I think that's very important, and I want people to realize, don't be above bartering, because it can help you get places that money can, of course, money will always help you get to where you need to be, but bartering can help you get there a little bit faster, if you don't have the capital to pay for what you need.
Yep, definitely. And I wish more people bartered seriously, because
Absolutely.
it's how I got a lot of things done in my business. Hey, somebody can do a website for you. You can
Right.
create content for them,
Right.
and it's a win-win situation. So I love it. So make sure you check out Miss Young. Give us the website one more time.
It's shfgglobal.com/services. And you can also follow me on social media at Your Family CPA.
All right. Well, thanks again. It was great talking to you, and make sure
You
you
too.
hit her up, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.